Experiencing grief. It's one of the hardest emotions to deal with. It's an emotion that often only time lessens, and during this time, individuals go through a myriad of different techniques on a subconscious level to express this feeling.
Oh, Bluey.
Which is something the Bluey Episode Copycat tackles in a rather clever way, through the form of play.
Bingo. Yeah? Can you pretend to be a budgie?
It's not uncommon to see kids use a form of play as a method to work through multiple different emotions, often being used as a controlled environment or a safe way to work through an event.
Are you okay?
My mum left me behind.
This is something Bluey focuses on in a couple different episodes, such as Space, whereas Mackenzie's childhood trauma as well as general anxiety is channeled through their game fiddling named Space.
Why did you leave me behind? What? We didn't. You did. You left me behind on purpose.
Which I have an entire video discussing this, which you can check out on the top right, and there's even instances of working through emotions through play in episodes such as Omelette, where we have small instances with Bluey's little sister Bingo after making too many mistakes in the kitchen.
That was a big one.
Chili decides it's better to cook alone,
I might handle the omelette, honey.
Oh, you don't want my help?
and Bingo expresses this in a small game with nearby objects.
You can't guard the queen. Why not? You're not good at it. I am, really I am.
I started talking about Bluey due to my history of working with kids in a therapeutic setting, which has inspired me to start the series, and it's interesting to see Bluey go through her grief because it almost becomes her entire world. Everything she does has to be related to the event, and since grief is expressed differently in every child, and expressed in wildly different ways, I think her using a form of play to express it is very telling for her character, because Bluey finds imaginative play fun. Often people going through grief will gravitate towards an activity that makes them happy or is fun for them. And considering Bluey is a very imaginative child that often does imaginative play in every single episode, it's not surprising to see her do this even with such a tough and challenging emotion. But before we get into the tea towels and chomps of the video,
Ow, Bingo!
don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You have no idea how much helps me out to get these videos out to more fans like you. And let's strut right into Copycat.
It's a little budgie. It looks hurt.
Will the budgie be okay?
I don't know, he looked pretty knocked around.
I'm sorry. It's bad news, I'm afraid. The little budgie died.
Oh, okay.
Come here.
Oh, Bluey.
Can you pretend to be a budgie? I don't want the budgie to have died. Are you sure he won't get better?
But there's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands.
You have to pretend it's bad news, that the budgie's dead.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, did the budgie die?
I'm afraid she did.
Oh, okay. Bingo, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be better.
This isn't how you wanted the game to go, is it?
No. That's okay. There's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands.
As we start the episode, we actually get a clever decoy for what we expect the episode's main purpose is going to be. Because as we know, the episode is called Copycat,
Huh?
and we spend the first couple of moments seeing Bluey do just that,
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
which is something I'm sure all of our younger selves can relate to, with either us copying a family member or a friend for our amusement and their annoyment. But rather than this being the name of the game she plays throughout, like we see in other episodes like Magic Xylophone,
Give me that.
this title serves to describe the way Bluey expresses her grief later on. But for the start, we get to enjoy totally normal dad behavior.
Oh, ow, oh, ow, oh, ow.
Which brings us to the real meat of the episode, with the music suddenly stopping
Hey, Dad, stop.
as Bluey runs across a hurt budgie. Now during this entire nerve-wracking situation, Bluey is keeping a close eye on exactly what Bandit does and says. The reason I bring this up is that during stressful experiences like this, children can have a heightened form of observational learning. This is the ability to watch, memorize, and mimic certain behaviors, which reflects what we see later on in the episode. So let's try to make some mental notes of some of the things Bandit says here, like,
Come here. Ow! He nipped me. Toughen up, Bandit. He's as light as a feather. We better get him some help.
and a few others I'm sure you'll catch along the way. And as they start heading to the vet, the music finally starts swelling again, as Bluey starts rapidly asking her dad's questions.
Are birds meant to drive in cars?
But Bandit remains a level head and helps her remain calm by answering them all as they hop into the car.
Don't worry, I know just what to do.
Accompanying all this is a music track that plays into the episode's general theme, as well as elevates the scenes as a whole. Namely that swell of the music as they approach the car as I mentioned earlier, but also throughout the entire episode. With the beginning being carefree with the notes copying each other as a nice subtle nod towards Bluey copying Bandit. With it even mimicking Bluey and Bandit's little vocalization here. Just focusing on having fun until everything just stops, just like the music. As Bluey encounters a situation that would make any child, and even some adults, feel some sort of severity by seeing an animal hurt to the point of not being able to move, onto a track that has light and calming sounds, but also notes of uneasiness as they head towards the vet, which all perfectly serve to being an extension to Bluey's emotions during these moments.
You're a good seatbelt, Dad.
And just like all episodes of Bluey, we can see the crew producing the episode putting in the extra effort to really sell the emotions that they wish to convey, like with the music I mentioned earlier, but also with subtle body movements, because as they walk towards the vet, you can see Bluey immediately going for Bandit's tail for comfort. And if you watch closely during the next scene, Bluey is always touching Bandit in some way, with even Bandit later holding on to Bluey to reassure her as they give the injured bird to the vet.
Good luck, little mate.
And this even carries on as Bluey expresses her concerns vocally to Bandit,
Will the budgie be okay?
with Bandit once again comforting Bluey. Now at this point, the thought that comes into everyone's mind is that the outcome is going to be some generic TV trope, where we see the animal they brought in be all okay, and they would probably spend the rest of the episode making the animal feel better and then releasing them into the wild. But being generic isn't something that Bluey often does, as we bear witness to a scene that astonishes many viewers on their first watch.
I'm sorry. It's bad news, I'm afraid. The little budgie died.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of many shows that are willing to show death so early in a series' life, considering this is only a season 1 episode, but it allows for some very important exposure to the children watching the show for a rather unpleasant truth about life in a really gentle way, especially with the authentic conversation Bluey and her father have driving home that you would typically hear from a young person experiencing something like this,
I don't want the budgie to have died.
and a parent confronted with a situation that sadly they can't fix.
But there's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands.
Alongside this conversation, they even have a subtle nod to the budgie passing, with a shot at the power lines with no birds on it, when on a previous shot there used to be one. But with the pure uneasiness in the scene, it really showcases how there's no easy way to deal with a topic such as this as a parent, or really anyone,
Oh, Bluey.
and allows the episode to be the perfect catalyst for showcasing the unique way some children express this grief
Bingo.
through play.
Can you pretend to be a budgie?
The expression of grief is a hard one to fully explain. It's emotion that isn't easily understandable because of how complex and different it is from individual to individual. It's an emotion that sometimes hits you when you least expect it, and oftentimes lasts your entire life. Because of this, even outside of this episode, we can see remnants of the budgie in the form of a toy in later episodes, likely bought by the parents after this, to help Bluey process the grief better, since studies find that toys associated with the deceased can help children express these feelings better. In fact, this isn't the only episode we see grief in. We see Nana fondly remembering her own Nana in a tear-jerking scene here in Charades.
Was your Nana a nice Nana?
She was about the nicest Nana you would ever want to meet, Bluey.
And my personal favorite comes from the episode Dragon. I really want to do a deep dive on this episode eventually, so I won't go too in-depth here. However, learning about the truth regarding Chili's mom in this episode and how it's symbolized is one that always gives me chills.
Just don't ever give up, Chili.
Your mum sounds nice.
Yeah, she was. Thank you.
Unfortunately, it's an episode that currently is only available in Australia, unless you have a way to bypass location-based restrictions, which is why I'm happy to say this video was sponsored by Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN is a very easy tool to use. You just press one button and then you're easily connected to Australian-based servers, and then you can go to the ABC website to see all the Australian exclusive episodes for Bluey. And besides Atlas VPN being the best VPN deal on the market, it keeps your Google searches in private, it allows you to save some coin while shopping online, it easily allows you to stop ads and malware, and protects an unlimited amount of devices. And there's also a ginormous price cut that is happening due to Black Friday, which allows you to get Atlas VPN for $1.70 per month with 6 extra months for free. If you want to get the special Atlas VPN deal for Black Friday, make sure to click my link down below in the comments or description to get this deal. Now as we shift back over to Bluey sitting alone, watching the birds in the sky, trying to process everything that has happened, she spots Bingo and asks this special question.
Bingo? Yeah? Can you pretend to be a budgie?
Leading us into the true meaning of the episode's title, Copycat. So now instead of copying her father for the purpose of having fun, she's now copying her father for the purpose of expressing her grief in a safe space through play. As I stated all the way back in the beginning of this video, the act of using play to express emotions is something children often find comforting, due to them being able to freely explore these feelings without worrying about consequences. And when it leads to reenactment, it's essentially a second chance for them for these scary situations. So during this, Bluey copycats the entire day, starting with their morning strut as they find the budgie, now replaced with Bingo in their backyard, and making sure to copy the mannerisms of Bandit to a T.
You look hurt. We best get you some help.
It looks hurt. We better get him some help.
As well as ensuring the entire situation mirrors what happened earlier.
He nipped me.
Bingo, you have to nip me. Okay. Ow, Bingo!
And there isn't a single moment that Bluey doesn't copy Bandit's exact dialogue, from getting hurt
Toughen up, Bandit!
to the words he said putting the budgie in the box,
He's as light as a feather.
Like as a feather.
and even the things he does during the car ride to the vet.
It's
great, mate. Get off your phone.
Pull away.
What I find most incredible about all this is that Bluey even remembers exactly what the other people in the vet looked like, by dressing up one of her plushies to look like the owner of the skink, and even having a blue-tongued skink toy with a bandage on its tail to match it as well. The only thing that doesn't match today is what Chili attempts to do to make Bluey feel better, which leads into this amazing scene.
I've got good news. Your bird is okay.
Oh, no, Mum. You have to pretend it's bad news. That the budgie's dead.
Oh.
Despite the scene being oddly hilarious with even the music stopping in response to the awkward situation for Chili, I really love how Chili responds in the next scene, as she starts to play along with Bluey's wishes.
I have bad news.
Oh, did the budgie die?
I'm afraid she did.
However, there's one person that didn't quite get the memo.
Bingo, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be better.
Causing Bluey to chase her into the backyard, but also unknowingly transforming their play into an important lesson for Bluey, as she copies the last thing Bandit says in the episode.
It's out of our hands.
This isn't how you wanted the game to go, is it?
No. That's okay. There's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands.
Showing her acceptance for it all, the last stage of grief, with Bandit coming in to solidify this.
You stopped copying me.
Oh, yeah.
Tying everything perfectly together as the music crescendos beautifully, as the family laughs over Bingo, slowly paneling up for one last symbolic shot to the sky. Now, as in tradition, we're at the part of the deep dive where we'll be going over all the Easter eggs and references, so let's just get right into it. Early in the episode, Bandit mentions how this funny walk is something people in the Olympics do, which is oddly true as you can see here, and after a quick search, this is due to them not being able to bend their knees or jump based off the rules, and apparently Olympic speedwalkers walk faster than the average person runs, which is crazy. Just as they're entering the vet, you can see this rough collie leaving, which is the same surfer lady from the episode Beach, Thanks to Nintendo for sharing that one, and if you haven't checked out his channel, make sure to do so. He has a lot of awesome Bluey content. There are 2 reoccurring Long Dog Easter eggs for this episode, one being hidden in the vet here, as well as near the end in the background right above Chili. Now this next one isn't quite an Easter egg, but I really enjoyed how standoffish Bingo is after coming back from the vet, and her almost looking confused the whole time. It just feels really authentic for a 4-year-old here. Throughout the episode, Bluey is able to copy Bandit one-to-one, except for this part in the restroom, due to her not being able to reach the sink, so she mimes it instead, which is just super cute. Thanks for Meme Machine for teaching me that one. Once again, not sure if this qualifies as an Easter egg, but people always find it fun when I point out that the fish has a bandage in this shot here on his fin. And thanks to the wiki, this is the first episode that we hear Wendy's name officially.
Morning, Wendy!
That's all the Easter eggs and references I could find, but if you buddies have any, make sure to tell me down below. I know you buddies always find something, and I always love seeing them, so make sure to share it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I find the way that the show chooses to tackle this theme is really amazing. It always surprises me when I look at how early of an episode this is. Majority of the time when I think of an emotionally complex episode, my mind always drifts towards season 2 or later on, but episodes like this being so early in the series' history is likely a huge reason why the series found so much success as a whole, encouraging the show to grow the amazing community it has now, and as we know, Bluey's momentum isn't going to stop anytime soon. And I will admit, the spectacle of these scenes are better watched than explained, especially the parts where Bluey starts her grieving process, so I highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen this episode to do yourself a favor and watch it. It's truly one of the better episodes in the show, and it's an amazing window into the inner workings of how some children process grief. And please join me next time as we deep dive everything Bluey. Once again, I have a couple different video ideas I'm currently juggling, with one of them being about the mixed opinions about the episode Blue Mountains. So make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss it or any video that I make. At this point, I just want to say thank you all for your patience. I feel like I might be sounding like a broken record, but being able to have the grace to take my time with videos isn't something everyone gets as a creator. And I deeply appreciate that despite it all, you continue to support me and supported me enough to get to 37,000 subscribers. I recently was looking back at one of my first Bluey videos and me being excited about hitting 14,000. So I'm feeling a little astonished with how far we've come since then and feeling a little bit overwhelmed with how much you guys mean to me. So thank you once again. Of course, now we'll be getting to the fan art, but before we get to that, I actually got this giant box from one of you buddies all the way in England. And if you didn't know, you can send me fan art via the PO box floating on the screen somewhere here. And this box is actually from an amazing person in the community by the name of Tom of Essex. I'm praying I said that correctly this time, but Tom of Essex is an editor on the Bluey Wiki as well as an incredible helper in the Healer House Discord. But this box was filled to the brim with a bunch of like British snacks and stuff, and it was pretty much a care package for me recovering from that wisdom teeth operation I recently had. So I deeply appreciate this because it did make the recovery a lot more bearable. Now this first one is by Fenris Art. Now this art is actually inspired by Persona 4. If you guys haven't played it, you definitely should. It's an amazing game series with a lot of deep themes, which has these iconic poses that the artist redrew as Bluey characters. Of course, we got Jack and Rusty, which is always going to butter my biscuits. We also got me in the front as well as BB Productions in the back. This is actually a piece as a celebration for our collaboration for our Our Place video, which if you haven't checked out, you definitely should because it was an amazing video that just celebrated the community's accomplishments of making history on the Our Place event. Now this next one is one that you all will probably immediately recognize the references. Now it's a bunch of Bluey OCs that are well known in the community, all drawn as animatronics, as well as me in the background there. I really love this piece. It's just really cool to just see everyone ganged up as a FNAF character to celebrate that movie coming out, which I haven't yet to see, which is a shame, but I definitely need to go see that, so thank you so much for making this piece. Now the next one is by Milo Cat, which is actually an animated art piece. I think when he made this, I mentioned in one video how I don't get a lot of pixel art, and they went out of their way to make this cool pixel art, but not only that, animated as well, which is amazing with little tail wagging there. This next one is by Gigi with an amazing choice for an art style. Now Gigi always draws in this particular art style, which I can't quite pinpoint or describe, but I really love when a art style really just stretches out certain features on a character. It makes it look extremely unique and very vibrant and lovely, especially with that little cool rainbow silhouette in the background of my character, as well as my character having these crazy hypno eyes. And this one is made by Nicholas with just me and Buddy hanging out. Funnily enough, this is the first piece I've ever gotten with me and Buddy, which is really weird because we're both two pugs, so you think that you'd see that more. But honestly, it's not even an idea that had originally popped into my head either, so it was a real treat to see me paired up with a different character, especially of the same breed. It really makes it look like we're big brother, little brother, and the pose is really reminiscent of Super Mario and Luigi, in my opinion. Now I will admit, I'm at the point where I have a couple different fan arts that I haven't quite shown. I think some are like as old as 5 months, so if I haven't shown your fan art, please be patient. I'm trying my best to show as much as possible, but not just have like a section where I have like 20 different fan arts and make the video like 20 extra minutes longer, because these sections can be a little bit of an extra length on a video. But I appreciate all the artists that went out of their way to send me their art. But make sure to check all the artists that I listed earlier. You can easily find their pages in the description on the video. There's nothing that makes me happier than to see that someone took time out of their day to make something special for me. It's just an extreme honor, and I can't thank you enough. And if you want to also send me some fan art, make sure to send me a DM via my Twitter here, or even going on my About page on YouTube to find my email. You can email me fan art there as well. A special thanks to everyone who's supporting me on the daily, especially the members who support me as little as $5 a month, which are Rick Iglesias, Hogsmeade, Tom of Essex, Jonathan, Snowy, Mr. Kitty, and Zach. These members help me get ever closer to becoming full-time, and if you'd also like to support me, consider becoming a member by clicking the link on the top right or in the description of this video. And don't forget to use my link down below for that special Black Friday deal for Atlas VPN. And as always, buddies, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Ready?